This trauma and the pain that we're all feeling is real. We have to stop.
But within 90 days of them taking my mother from me, she's dead.
My dad is trapped, but I've got to get him out of this court system. There's no end to this.
This is ground zero in the fight to stop what sure looks like nationwide elder abuse. This is Orange County, California. These folks have watched strangers take over control of their relatives' lives, often their moms or their dads, with the help of judges.
We have got to put a stop to this probate corruption. It's like a mafia.
And these are some of the foot soldiers in the alleged probate mafia, lawyers cashing in on family injustice.
It's unheard of. This is a cabal that must be stopped.
Hi, Mr. Becker. Hi, my name is Wade Dolcefino. How are you, sir?
Good to meet you.
Good. Do you guys mind being called part of a cabal? What do you say to people who say that?
It's nonsense, but...
It's not just the elderly who get trapped in a vicious probate system. Britney Spears showed us all what it's like to be trapped.
From the conservatorship that since 2008 had controlled every aspect of the pop star's existence.
And I stand here boldly. I'm not alone. All these victims are with me with the exact same stories.
It was a woman named Jody Sussman who had gathered this small army of probate victims in front of the Orange County Courthouse back in May, as lawyers went inside to make their pitch for a payday, fighting over the money of a dead woman, her mom, Marty Adair.
They've enriched themselves over the dead bodies and hard work of our elderly Americans.
Both of Jody's parents died trapped in California's cruel legal system. Marty spent more than $300,000 in legal fees back then, trying to save her and her husband. She saved herself from court control, but her husband Richard was taken over. He died during the court battle. But the folks who wanted control of Marty Adair weren't through. In 2019, her daughters say Marty was targeted again by the same so-called probate mafia. And whether you call it guardianship where you live or conservatorship like they do in California, once the legal system grabs hold of someone you love, they never seem to let go. And across the country, Dolcefino Consulting is now being brought in to help expose a different kind of family injustice. This will give you a sense of the gravity of the abuse that's going on, and we're calling on the judges to stop the nonsense. And Orange County Judge Abraham Beitai has a chance to send a strong message. The spotlight is on the court ruling he's about to make to end the feeding frenzy. In a court filing in June, Sussman accused Becker and his partner Samantha Morris Jones of a conspiracy to force her mom into a conservatorship. The fraud was perpetrated, she said, for the precise purpose of controlling my mother's person and assets, for purposes of looting from her assets. When you are in a business that some people would say preys on family disputes, do you feel like you're taking advantage of these senior citizens?
Absolutely not.
For 5 long years, Rita King's 91-year-old father, Gustavo Verdol, has been in what they call in California temporary conservatorship, a victim of the so-called probate mafia. Her lawyers were Eric Becker and Samantha Morris Jones.
I reported the fraud, the breaches of fiduciary duties, the hundreds of thousands of dollars lost to my attorney, Eric Becker and Samantha Morris. Little did I know they were part of this ring and brought on more of these people. But I've got to get him out of this court system. There's no end to this. Had they not done what they've done, our parents could have plenty to retire on and be well taken care of.
Other probate victims point the finger at the same cast of characters, with Becker and Morris often playing a starring role in allegations lawyers are unfairly depleting inheritance for families.
The whole thing is corrupt.
Look at the poster board of the accused probate mafia in the Suzanne Pearsall case. There's Becker and Morris Jones again. These sisters claim Jones even got her own mom appointed a trustee in that case. It's all in the family.
It shouldn't happen to anybody because you believe in the court system and the court system is totally vandalizing us.
You guessed it, Eric Becker is in that case too, representing the for-profit fiduciary that took over.
It's been a nightmare. The whole thing has been a nightmare.
Marty Adair's final conservator when she died was this guy, Mark McKibben, a licensed professional fiduciary. Yes, they have a license for that in California. Adair's daughters say they reluctantly agreed to his control over their mom when they were forced to seek guardianship in Texas instead of what was happening in California. Once there, they set out to prove their mom's dementia diagnosis was bogus, that she was mentally competent. A Texas judge agreed. California courts held on to Marty Adair anyway. Her family tried to end the conservatorship, but she died before they could get to court again. In court filings, McKibben has now outlined the payday still being requested from the judge from the money Marty left behind. More than $360,000. More than half of it to Samantha Morris Jones and her partner, Eric Becker. Why does it cost so much money? I mean, lawyers are basically spending money that could go to the family.
No comment.
The next biggest chunk of money is requested by this guy, David Shaver, who was appointed by a previous judge to be the guardian ad litem for Marty Adair, appointed to represent her best interests. You think you've done right by Marty Adair?
Yes.
How? You know what her daughters say. Her daughters say Shaver didn't even bother to meet Marty for the first time for more than 6 months after he was hired to protect her, and only did so when they insisted. They say you didn't see her for 6 months after you were hired. Is that true?
I'm sitting in court, you can listen to what I have to say.
We did. Shaver admitted he only met alone with Marty Adair just 2 times before she died. He was her supposed guardian for nearly 3 years. Don't you think you guys should comment about whether or not you're mistreating these folks? Do you think you're mistreated her? Does it bother you that her daughters think you guys are all part of a cabal?
It's been an absolute travesty.
Kathy Gardner's dad died in conservatorship 6 years ago. Shaver was part of that case too. And you know who was protecting her father as the guardian ad litem? Eric Becker. The conservator in that case was Sally Cicerone. Cicerone surrendered her license after allegations she pilfered funds from a dead client.
She told me that they will always win against all of us. And she was right.
Marty Adair filed bankruptcy to protect her prized piece of real estate, the American Way Cultural Center. It was, the daughters claim, part of the cabal's plan. Once lawyers had a doctor to say Marty had dementia, the plans to sell her property began. The lawyers and realtors tried to sell it for millions less than it was really worth, first claiming it was just worth $3 million. Nice try. It was auctioned off for more than $16 million. Still millions less than the daughters say the property was really worth. Besides, it was priceless to Marty Adair. The broker's fees, $835,000, money that went to Teresa Gorman and Ruben Martinez of a company called FRES, Fiduciary Real Estate Services. They are considered part of the cabal. And believe it or not, a year after her death, that bankruptcy case, it's still open, even though Adair's creditors appear to have been paid off 2 years ago. Why are the lawyers still hanging around? Newport Beach bankruptcy lawyer Richard Golobow is the guy who bragged that his paralegals billed it up to $400 an hour. He bills at $685 an hour. He's already billed $467,000, nearly $500,000, all money that came from Marty Adair. Golobow has also gotten $189,000 in payments from the bankruptcy trustee. This guy, the one that Jody Sussman has some of her harshest criticisms for. He's Richard Huntington, the first conservator of her mom, now also involved in the bankruptcy case.
He's an evil man. He's an evil, evil man.
The family was outraged when Huntington showed one of the daughters, in front of Marty, a pamphlet for death with dignity.
You're a thief. You're a liar. Yeah, we know exactly who you are.
You discover a tangled web when trying to identify members of the alleged probate mafia. Take Huntington. He shared an office address with Gorman and Martinez of FRES. And Gorman's also a lawyer with an office address in the same building as Eric Becker. Huntington is part of a group called Professional Fiduciary Services. It's run by a guy named Peter Cote, who puts on those seminars weirdly called It's Your Money, It's Your Estate, even though all these folks seem to be making their living off other people's estates once they take control. Teresa Gorman is on the seminar's board of directors. But none of the control can happen without judges who go along. Probate victims point fingers at Kim Hubbard and Gerald Johnston. Hubbard and Gorman were speakers at last year's Professional Fiduciary Convention. Looks like the folks who say they worry about protecting all those rich, elderly Californians put on quite a party. Huntington wasn't in court the day probate court victims gathered outside of the Orange County Courthouse. But in a final statement to the judge, he claimed Adair's 3 daughters had simply found new and creative ways to interfere, harass, and malign him and his lawyers. That he had really protected Marty Adair from her own children. That makes Jody Sussman emotional. She recounts her mom begging her daughters to help fight off the strangers trying to take over her life.
What do I do? And it's like, Mom, I don't know. They say the only way out physically and to save your life is to agree to let them liquidate all your property.
The horror stories about abuses in guardianship and conservatorship are nationwide.
These people are wicked. They're evil, and they totally destroyed our family. It's awful.
Sherry is the stepmother of Bradford Lund, grandson of Walt Disney, forced into guardianship in Nevada based on questionable claims he had Down syndrome. Sherry has fought for more than a decade in the probate system to try and free him.
I told the judge, people are dying on your watch. That's criminal.
To say that my life has been destroyed would be an understatement.
In Nevada, former lawman Stuart Handy now faces criminal charges, allegations he's an accomplice to kidnapping. He was accused of helping his friend Roger take his mom out of an Alzheimer's care facility. Stuart believed his mom was being mistreated. She died soon after. Another victim.
What they did to Susan Hilligus was isolate her, get her over-medicated, and then subsequently murder her.
And in Orange County, yet another insult to Jody and her sisters. It was callous words from attorney Samantha Morris Jones, quoting, "All allegations regarding whether Miss Adair had dementia are irrelevant, but it's totally relevant to Jody Sussman. In fact, it's everything. She believes her mom was falsely diagnosed with dementia in the first place, simply an excuse to get to her property and evaporate her estate, to deprive her of the little things." The folks at FRES put a for sale sign in front of Marty's house without even telling her. The lawyers claimed it was ready for foreclosure. The sisters have mortgage documents showing that wasn't true. The daughters say Huntington took out an unnecessary and predatory $2.7 million loan on the Adair property. It cost Marty $900,000. Look at this court filing by the Orange County public defender who was representing Marty back in 2019 as the conservatorship was taking hold of her life. Quoting, while billing nearly $700,000 for less than 20 months of work, Huntington fought giving Mrs. Adair $50 a month for lottery tickets. And that bankruptcy case, it's now been extended for another 6 months. Great for the lawyers, but why? Marty's now been dead more than a year. That, the daughters say, is the way the probate mafia works, churning fees while ripping the dignity away from folks like Marty Adair.
God willing, they're going to get exposed, and they're going to be stopped, and they're going to pay for what they've done to our families. God gives our inheritance. They can't take it away. God help us all.